What's up, everyone? Welcome back to another review. This time we're taking a look at Terminator 2 Judgment Day, directed by James Cameron, co-written by James Cameron. Terminator 2 is the continuation of the Terminator franchise and is the second installment into said franchise. Now, my overall thoughts on Terminator 2 is this. This is my second favorite movie of all time. I love Terminator 2. I've been watching this movie since for as long as I can remember. I had this movie on VHS during the VCR days. That's how much I adore and admire and love this movie. Terminator 2 is one of those rare sequels that outshines its predecessor. I think T2, from an overall production standpoint, this movie just looks much more refined, looks more polished. It just looks like it's a good looking, beautiful movie. Outstanding cinematography by Adam Greenberg. James Cameron's direction for this movie is much more sophisticated, it's much more sharper. I think his writing is much more stronger as well in this movie, particularly when it comes to his characters and the development of his characters. Yeah, James Cameron, to me, his skills were much more polished and refined this time around with Terminator 2. The special effects of this movie are state of the art. Like, this movie was groundbreaking for the special effects, and this was one of the very first movies to fully utilize computer generated imagery to its fullest potential. Now listen, when you watch it now, do some of the effects look dated? Yes, but to James Cameron's credit, he didn't overuse the CGI. And there are some CGI moments that still seem flawless even to this day, particularly a lot of the scenes involving the T-1000s. So, from a special effects standpoint, this movie is spectacular, still a marvel to look at. It's still very, very innovative. And like I said, T2 to me, with the exception of maybe a couple of minor things, this movie still holds up from a special effects standpoint. The CGI does look good, but the practical effects outshine the CGI effects when it comes to this movie. So yes, from a directing standpoint, this movie is excellent. From a cinematography standpoint, the movie is much more refined and polished. From a special effects standpoint, it's groundbreaking. Now we get on to the more important stuff, which is the actual story itself. Terminator 2 probably tells one of the most emotional stories to ever be put onto film. And the fact that this movie focuses mostly on John Connor, played by Edward Furlong, was fantastic. This is pretty much the origin story of John Connor and his ascension into the military leader that he would become, as seen in flashbacks from T1 and in some flashbacks in this movie as well. I thought Eddie Furlong put on a really good performance as John Connor. I think his performance still holds up. I mean, yeah, he was 13 years old when he first made this movie, and child actors aren't the best. But Eddie Furlong, he has a rebellious charisma to him, and he never comes across as annoying to me. Not only that, his chemistry with Arnold Schwarzenegger works. And if that chemistry between Eddie Furlong and Arnold did not work, this movie would not have worked at all. Because the movie is built on John Connor's relationship with the Terminator, since it's the Arnold Schwarzenegger Terminator that John Connor bonds to almost in like a fatherly type of way. And in essence, John Connor teaches the Terminator how to be human and how to understand humans, and I love that. Like this cold-hearted machine was turned into a human being by this little boy who pretty much viewed him as like a parental type of figure. And like I said, the relationship between the Terminator and John Connor is what really makes this movie work. And I also like the idea of having this Terminator pretty much be the good guy. Of course, as I had mentioned earlier, the T-1000s. The T-1000, played by Robert Patrick, outstanding. Robert Patrick in this movie puts on a fantastic performance as the T-1000s. He is this unassuming looking type of person, but because he is virtually made of liquid metal and he can turn his body into sharp objects, he comes across as one of the most menacing movie villains ever put to screen, and I thought Robert Patrick was outstanding in this movie as a villain. So you would think that he would not match up to the Arnold Schwarzenegger Terminator, but he does. Mainly because the T-1000s is a more advanced Terminator, because he can turn his body into liquid metal and into sharp objects. And he's also an infiltration unit. He's a shapeshifter, so he can easily impersonate or mimic anything he wants in order to get what he wants. And like I said, Robert Patrick, fantastic performance. This movie also has Joe Morton, who plays Miles Dyson, who plays an important role in this movie. I thought Joe Morton puts on a really good performance as Dyson. I like how Dyson overall comes across as a very likable guy who's just very ambitious and doesn't understand the power that he has at his hands. And when the Terminator and Sarah Connor tell him the story, what he's supposed, what's going to happen, and what he's going to be responsible for, you can tell that he is just weird. He's not weird. You can tell that he's just horrified by what his actions can cause, and he proactively wants to prevent that. And I thought Joe Morton put on a really good performance for a supporting character. And now we get to Linda Hamilton as Sarah Connor. Linda Hamilton in this movie as Sarah Connor is absolutely fantastic. She killed it in this movie. I liked her in the first movie, but in this movie, she earns her merit as a damaged woman who is pretty much borderline on becoming a human Terminator. And she eventually does become a human Terminator because she nearly kills Dyson. Like, she goes to Dyson's house and with just cold-heartedly and ruthless guns down the place to shreds. And it's only with intervention from John where Sarah realizes what she's becoming. And that's one of the things I also love about this movie is the dichotomy. You know, in the first movie, the Terminator is this ruthless killing machine and Sarah Connor is the hapless victim. But now we go to T2, the Terminator has become more human, and Sarah Connor, the human, has essentially become the thing that she hates, which is a Terminator. And when Sarah realizes what she's becoming, it's absolutely fantastic. And Linda Hamilton's performance all throughout this film is utterly beautiful. Fantastic performance. And I also love how she kind of comes to terms and makes peace with the Terminator through this version of the T101. Outstanding stuff. Beautiful storytelling. Beautiful character development. I can't praise it enough. Yeah, Terminator 2. I love this movie to death. It's such a good movie. It from a writing standpoint, this is James Cameron's at his absolute best. From a character standpoint, absolute best. Even when he does his little, even when he puts in little moments of levity, like with the Dr. Silverman character, like for black comedy purposes, great stuff. I liked Earl Bowen in the first movie, and I like him, and he's just as good in this movie. Though as a child, Terminator 2 was what I saw first. I didn't see T1 until after the fact. But you get my meaning. Earl Bowen as Dr. Silverman is an iconic portrayal, an iconic character, and I do like Bowen's dry delivery with a lot of scenes, especially a scene where Sarah attacks him, and Silverman's security team tries to restrain her. He looks into a mirror and just says, "Model citizen." It's dry humor like that that I love about this movie. Now, I'm talking more about the special edition. And the special edition does have a lot of added scenes that I think actually beef up the movie just a little bit. Particularly this one scene where there's a dream sequence where Sarah and Kyle reunite, which I think is a fantastic scene, and I really wish was in the theatrical version because it really plays into Sarah just being lonely, just being alone and not knowing what to do without somebody there. Like, she needs Kyle Reese to ground her. Without Kyle or something like that, she just feels lost. And I think that deleted scene should not have been deleted, but I'm glad it's in special edition because the Kyle Reese scene is actually really cool, and Michael Biehn does get to return, which is fantastic. I love all that stuff as well. The action sequences in this movie, fantastic, beautiful. Like the initial chase of the T-1000s to John Connor on the motorcycle, awesome stuff, outstandingly directed. And the entire third act, which is just a big gunfight, beautiful. Especially when you get to the whole third act where they go to this refinery, which is also intense stuff. And which also leads to me to one of the most emotional scenes ever put on film. Pretty much, once all is said and done and the T-1000 is defeated, the Terminator chooses to want to be self-terminated. Now, of course, John Connor does not want this to happen because he's bonded with this Terminator. This Terminator has pretty much become a father figure to him. But this way, I can't describe the scene. You gotta watch the scene for yourself. It's so beautifully done. The music by Brad Fiedel is just so awesome and so elegant. And as a child, the scene made me cry. And watching it as an adult, the scene also makes me cry as well. Also makes me tear up because it's essentially a son saying goodbye to his father now that the father has fulfilled his mission, and now it's time for him to go. But the scene is so beautifully acted. It's so well done. And this is the scene that I mentioned earlier of Sarah coming to peace with the Terminator, because they get a chance to shake hands, and Sarah realizes what the Terminator means to John, and how and what John means to the Terminator. Beautifully done. All done through just facial expressions and through what was told through us throughout the entire story. Excellent stuff. Yeah, there's a lot more to talk about with T2, but if I do that, this review is going to go on longer than originally intended. So yeah, as you can tell, T2 is a perfect 10. I love this movie. It is absolutely flawless. It will never leave my top 10 favorite movie list of all time. Never. So yeah, perfect 10 for Terminator 2. Let me know your thoughts in the comment sections down below. Like this video and subscribe, and I will check you back next time for more.